Michigan DECA. Welcome back to another episode of What's New in the Blue, your go-to spot for all things DECA. I'm your host, State Secretary Kat Lee, and today we're taking a deep dive into something that every DECA competitor has to face, but not everyone understands. The cluster exams. To dive deep into this topic, we're bringing back our Director of Competitive Events, Marshall Conley, to help explain this often confusing part of our competition journey. Welcome back, Marshall.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Excited to be here again.
I'm really excited to learn more about test prep, and I actually did marketing communications series my freshman year, but I haven't done a role play since then, so I'd love to learn more about cluster exams. For anyone brand new, what is a cluster exam in DECA terms, and which event types actually take it?
Sure, yeah. So in DECA terms, they're standardized, industry-validated tests, similar to any other standardized tests you've taken. These ones are just aligned, based on what event you're competing in. So, principals, series, TDMs, selling and consultings, integrated marketing campaigns will take those exams. No other prepared events will. We have seven of those. You can kind of see how they're divided amongst our role play offering here. So, like accounting applications here is taking the finance exam, apparel and accessories, marketing, hotel and lodging, hospitality, human resource management, business management. All the principal events, they take one exam, which is that business administration core exam. So yeah, that's pretty much what those cluster exams are.
I think that's really great. And I think that it really just shows like how many different areas that we cover, and there's really just something for every student to find. And like it gives them an opportunity to focus on something that they're really interested in.
Truly, truly. That's one of the greatest strengths of our org, I think.
And so before we get into the weeds, what's the number one myth about cluster exams?
Sure. So the number one myth is that they don't matter. A lot of people think they don't matter because they take up a smaller percentage of the score than the role play score. But really they do. We often find that they're a make or break. So I do not go into this prep or this competition thinking like, oh, I can wing the exam and still do great. You can wing the exam and still do good.
I remember my freshman year, one of the biggest reasons why I didn't make it to the International Career Development Conference was because of my test score.
Yeah, it's a tough test.
Who creates the questions, and are they based on national standards?
Yes, so they are based on national curriculum standards. This test is created by MBA Research and Curriculum Center, and DECA license it from MBA. And you can actually read into their exam specifications on their website just by Googling MBA cluster exam specifications. Great document to read through and understand. Well, just a lot of the materials that we're gonna probably cover today.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't even know that. So, and then for our next question, how do test builders decide what performance indicators or content areas make it onto a given cluster exam?
That's a great question. So I think the best way to understand this is by just looking at the blueprints. They show the question count by instructional area, and instructional areas are where you will find the specific performance indicators within your cluster. You can find this on deca.org/compete, go to your event, click the performance indicators list, and it'll take you to the performance indicator list for your entire cluster. And then you can see how many questions within an instructional area are going to be on your test and then search that on that performance indicator list document, and you can find all the performance indicators covered by that instructional area. So that's really great for honing in your focus or understanding what you need to practice. So you're not just researching blind or studying blind.
And is there a consistent structure to the questions?
Yes, there is. You can read more about that on the MBA cluster exam specifications document I was talking about. But yeah, just to give you a basic summary, it's going to be all multiple choice. There's no negative questions like which of the following is not or which of the following is except. An inverse, there's no all of the above or none of the above questions, no definition questions. And you'll find most of the content is found in the question and not in the potential answers. So what's called the STEM. We can throw up an example so you can see. You do most of the reading through the question, and then you just have to kind of complete a small blank. So that's pretty consistent through all of the tests. With the exception of some of the finance questions having math, you're going to find that to be true most of the time.
Are there common trap question types students should watch out for?
No, DECA nor NBA is in the business of deceit. What we're looking for is to measure your higher order thinking analysis, or skills. Essentially, how you're finding answers, is more what we're evaluating. Can you find the right one amongst four plausible questions. So, and no vocabulary questions per se, but I would suggest you stay brushed up on your vocabulary, via flashcards or even staying like tuned into news outlets specific to your cluster. I read Morning Brew every day, but there's tons out there. Find one you like and carve out a little time of your day to read, and I think you find yourself pretty well versed after a little while.
Yeah, I feel like that's some really great advice. Where can competitors find official or officially aligned study guides for PI lists or practice exams?
Yeah. So the big three are DECA Plus, DECA Direct, and Answer Right. Answer Right is the practice portal, or that's really our test portal. That's where you'll be taking your cluster exam for district, at least. So that's a really great resource to study. I think that's the place you're going to build the most familiarity, being it's the testing environment you'll see the day of the cluster exams. DECA Plus is really the competitor's arsenal, the subscription platform created by DECA. So that has a ton of resources on there. And I think we've mentioned this in the podcast previously, but that's a resource that's available to all chapters in Michigan. So I would definitely take full advantage of that. They have practice tests, performance indicator, flip cards, vocabulary flashcards, as we previously mentioned, being helpful, all sorts of stuff. I really do think DECA Direct is a great place to find yourself, a few times a week at least. There's a ton of resources, articles on there, ready for someone who's motivated and wants to get better to come and find and use. So do not skip out on those resources.
I definitely do think that those resources are really great. I personally really like DECA Plus, and I know my chapter does too because we use it a lot. So I think that you guys should definitely go check out those.
Good.
But this kind of like leads into my second question,
Yeah.
where some students may want to do some extra practice outside of those
Yeah.
um, resources. So are there any unofficial resources that people
So,
can?
certainly, certainly. There's lots out there, thousands and thousands of members, all looking for more places to practice and prepare. So there's a lot out there. There's entire organizations dedicated to making competition resources like Competition University. It's a great resource, and your chapter can buy it through Shop Deca. I wouldn't say it's unofficial in that way, but it's helpful in a lot of ways. One thing I really love, and this is true about Deca Plus too, but there's just more that you can find here. The practice tests show you a score by instructional area. That really allows you to understand where you're at, where your weak spots are, so you can focus your preparation ahead of the test. Really focus in on the areas that you're weak on, get stronger at those, or just understand, using the blueprints to focus on those areas that will be heavier weighted in your test. So those are great. I probably should be more hesitant to say AI than I am, but I've tested it, and I think ChatGPT at least is very clearly trained on our materials. I found its practice questions to be pretty good. How about you, Kat? Do you hear anything of you're a little closer to the ground level than me. What are the members using to practice?
Yeah, so I know in the past, my like board members for my chapters have done research on Quizlets. So they would like
Oh,
provide certain students with Quizlets, but I do know that they are typically made by other students as well. But I have heard that it can be useful to study with.
I agree. I think that is a great place to look, and I think your caution is good, but better than nothing, right? So once you've exhausted all the DECA official resources, anywhere you can find a place to get reps in, I think is a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. If a student freezes on a question, what's the best move to protect their score?
Oh, I'm glad you bring that up because this year, DLG, the development company that makes Answer Right, actually added a new feature that makes it a little easier to go back to skipped questions. My suggestion would be to push through all of what you know, and then there's going to be like a jump back and a jump forward to unanswered button. that you can use once you've made your full pass through. Previously, you had to click and just go one by one by one. So, if you skip question three and you're on 99 with 5 minutes left, and there's four or five questions in there that you still left unanswered, it's a little unnerving to go back, and that was made easier this year. So when you are testing, don't be afraid to skip a question if you're not sure. You may find a question later that helps you answer that one. So.
Wow, that's really useful. And do all clusters weigh the exam the same way in overall score, or does that vary by event category?
No, it's all the same. They're all weighed the same. 33% of your overall score will be your test score.
Oh, 33% isn't that much. Does the test really affect who moves on to the next level?
Yes, yeah. So I think that's the thing that makes a lot of people think that the test doesn't matter that much. But I think what we're seeing in here that shows that you can get a really good role play score, but if your test score is too low, it can really inhibit your advancement. A lot of times what we're seeing is the top five in a role play section will be like 99, 98, 97, 96, 94. But the test scores, they're much different. You have 77, 82, 84, 63. So more often than not, it's the test score that's really deciding who goes on to the international conference. You could be the fifth best role player in your section, but if your test score is high enough, it may be the thing that puts you on the podium, so to speak.
And if you had to condense your advice into one sentence for a first-time test taker, what would it be?
Practice, kind of the theme of the whole conversation here. Review, review your results. Focus on what you need to do to get better. Studying may not feel like the cool thing or the fun thing to do. I mean, I definitely know it's not, but you'll never, I assure you, if you've never been to ICDC, you will never look cooler than you do when you're receiving glass in front of 25,000 of your best friends who are wishing they were you. So trying, studying, it's very cool in our world because it's what makes you win. I mean, can you agree with that? I mean, it'd be a pretty cool moment to be the person holding that first place glass.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I can say I never got one myself, and I would have done a lot to get one. So yeah, that would be my condensed. I don't know if that was condensed, but that's my advice.
I feel like that's some really, really great advice, especially like practicing and really making sure to focus and review because I feel like when you're like testing or there with the judges, like being sure that you have the confidence to do everything and like know that like you've already done so much, like you've already done like everything that you can. So it's really just having the confidence in the end.
Yeah, yeah, no, confidence is key, very key. I will say it and say it again. I think confidence is one of the biggest score impactors there are.
And lastly, one sentence for a veteran trying to jump 10 points this season.
10 points is a lot. The DECA cluster exams are one of those exams where, if you're getting 70, 80% of you're doing really, really well. Depending on where you're landing, 10 points is going to be is a lofty goal, but I commend anyone who's asking and wanting to do that. You know where if you're a veteran member, you know where the practices are. If you don't, at this point, scroll back to the beginning of this episode and just listen one more time. Hit them all, understand where your weaknesses are, use something, whether it be Competition University, AI, or one of the DECA resources, DECA Plus, DECA Direct, to really hone in on your instructional areas, performance indicators that need improvement, and that are the ones that are the bulk of the exam. Use your blueprint to figure out what those are. You can find the blueprints on deca.org/compete. Go to your event on the right-hand side of the screen. So use those to figure out what they are and really lock into those practice tests. And I assure you, if you exhaust them all, you will increase your score. Maybe 5 points, maybe 10 points. You will increase it.
All
All right.
right, I think that's all we have today. If you're watching this video on YouTube and have any further questions, please don't hesitate to drop a comment. Marshall will be fielding answers there. And additional reminder, Next Gen Innovators Challenge is due next Saturday. So if you're thinking of submitting that challenge, don't miss that day. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode, and thank you so much, Marshall, for being here today. And we'll see all of those who are attending SLS on Thursday.
Thank you for having me, Kat.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here.